Hi guys, so for today, we'll be doing another challenge from the Enterprise DNA Power BI challenge. So what we can do right now is this one, insurance complaints, which is the number 6 challenge for Power BI. So this is the overview of the challenge. So this is the problem. Um, So the brief, you are working at a large insurance company who are due to undergo an internal audit with regards to their complaints procedure. The company are forward thinking and currently have a data warehouse in place alongside several models. Management have asked you to look at the model and produce insight for management level that can highlight any issues and prepare them for the audit. Given your recent work, they have complete trust in your ability and have given you freedom to present this back as you see fit. Some factors to consider are the following. So the most recent 2 years data of what most stakeholders are interested in, the ability to see status change when they happened, complaints broken down by dimensions, client satisfaction, and the worst offending brokers. So you can download the dataset in this link. So I've already downloaded it. Then, so these are the users that have submitted their um, projects for this challenge. So first is this one. It's like a audit report. It's an audit report, but in a Power BI format. So these are the elements that he have. This one and this one. But we have the following challenges that we need to consider. So what are those? So let's copy this one. So we should have answered the following. So this is the goal of the dashboard should be. And then so what struck me on this dashboard that they have presented was this one. So it's visually appealing, but let's see on how it fit with the problem. So let's do first this dashboard. Let's replicate this one first, and let's see how it goes. So for this one, I don't think we need PowerPoint to have the visual layout, but what I need in PowerPoint is the color palette or the color hex. So I will just pick the color that has been used. So let's just get some shapes. I think the color palette that he used was the Power BI. So these are the three colors. So let's see. And now let's see the data. So we have here how many tables? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 tables here. I'll post later the connections in each tables for us to create the data model for this challenge. So we will load all this data into Power BI. So that's the next. But let's see first what we have here. So we have the broker's information, their broker's ID, code, name, what type of distribution network are they in, what channel, and the commission scheme. Then the products, regions, let's see, customers. So it's the regions of the customers and the state regions. Priorities, so we have two. Status of each complaints. It should be complaints, outstanding, categories. So we have a lot of categories for the complaints. Sources, type of complaints, and the complaints data. So how many do we have? It's around 13,800 complaints for how many periods? For 10-year period. So on this goal, the most recent 2 years is what they are interested in. So we'll only load the latest 2 years. The completion date and those ID, which we will be connecting later. The client satisfaction, we have three, three. So NA, they didn't answer, not satisfied, and satisfied. Expected reimbursement. Then the status history. So this is how the complaints stages has been the log file on the change in status. Complaints ID, status. So now we will load it in Power BI. So first we'll get the Excel. This one. So we will load all the tables. Okay, now the data are loaded. Let's see the data model. So for this one, Power BI auto detected those fields with the same names. But let's check it first if it got the right relationship. So for this one, what was connected was product ID and the product ID on the complaints data. This is our main table, and these are our subtables. So brokers table should be the broker's ID, correct? Customer, customer ID, okay. Categories, this one. Then priority, mm, this one. Then these regions and states are for the customer's information. So we'll have it around this bottom. So here is the region ID and the ID. And what else? So let's bring it around here. Anything else? Okay. This one, sources. Status. Then the type. Then the history. Mm, complaint ID. Complaint ID. So the goal was to analyze only the recent 2 years. So what we can do is load the entire data and filter out on the page level the latest 2 years, or for us to save some storage, we can already filtered out those 2 years data in the query editor. So on the complaints data, so we'll only handle the complaints that we received from the latest 2 years. But for this instance, what was I think it's around 2020. So we only need 2019 to 2020. So we'll filter it out starting January 1, 2019. So now it doesn't show, and also in this status. Then we'll reload the tables. It will only reload those tables that we've had some changes. So now we have the 2 years data. So let's try to um, let's try to replicate now what we have in the dashboard. So first, we will have the following: complaints by distribution channel. So that's the, what's that? Distribution channel. We don't have that, but it can be this one, the dimension. So let's have this one. Channel. You can just search the field names here. And the complaints ID. So we'll set it up as default count, the same count in here. In the columns tools, the default summarization will be count distinct. So you won't need to um, set it up every time you drag the ID in here. So every time you drag this ID into values, the default will be distinct count, should be. Yeah, this one. So now we have those breakdown. So this is the one of the dimension that he showed on the first page or on the main page. The next one will be the average duration. So it's the number of days between the complaint date and the completion date. So let's see if we already have that one. If not, we'll create a new column for it. So we don't have the number of days a complaint was completed. So we'll create a new one. So NOD completed, number of days completed. So it's a date difference between the complaint date, date and the completion date by day. So now we have the number of days completed. So we can create a card visual for it and just drag it here and have the average. So we have 6.51 average duration. So he has 10 here. Maybe it's the filter of date. Not sure. Or if it's a complete date. But anyways, it's the process that what we are doing. So it also has those mini line chart. So for that to be able, for us to be able to do that, we will need to change it to this one, KPI. So the trend axis should be the month. Yes, this one. We can do that by month for the next 2 years or by day. So I think I use days in that. So the problem with that is it will change depending on this one, the trend axis that you've put. So for the last 2 years, let's see, recent 2 years. Oh, okay. For the recent 2 years, I think I know what happened. So instead of filtering out the date based on what you think is I think we have relative. Last 2 years, yes, this one. No, doesn't show the last 2 years. Uh, do we have a relative date? Relative filter? Advanced? No, we don't have that. So what we can do is load the 2018 data. So maybe let's remove this one and just adjust this filter. Same here. So we'll clear this one. So since The query editor doesn't have the relative date. We'll try to filter out the page instead for the relative date. I think we have those options here. So what we can do is drag this complaint data here. Instead of basic filter, we'll use the relative date in the last 2 years. So this is what I was looking for on the uh, query editor, but it doesn't. But it's available here. But the problem with this one is it's a dynamic filter date. So the relative date is based on the current date on your computer. So it's 13 on mine. So all the pages will have the data between the latest 2 years from your current date. So that's why we have a difference. The next one was the percentage of urgent complaints. So where do we see those urgency? Which field? It's in the priorities. Let's rename it first. Average duration in days. Then for us to know the percentage of urgent from the rest, we'll need to create a measure table. So as you know, I always like the measures on a single table um, for a clean data. So we will create a new table which we will be using as our table for the measures that we will be creating. So it doesn't have any data, but it will require a field for it to be created. So currently it was in the middle of this table. What I always do is to have it put on top. So I'll rename it and have a number 1 in it so that we will have those measure table at the top. Then after that, we'll create the measure. So percentage of urgency from the rest. We can create total number of complaint equals distinct count ID. Then urgent percentage will be the total numbers of urgent. So when we use var, we can create an internal variable for your measure. If you will be doing a lot of codes or formula here, so it will save the formula for that variable. So for this instance, we can calculate the total complaints where, what's the field name? Description. Description in the description in the priorities table is equals to urgent. Is it urgent only? Urgent. So it will be saved. Then for us to use those variable, we need to add the return formula. Then we will use divide. We need to close it. Sorry. Divide the total urgent versus the total complaints. As you can see, we can use the internal variable that we created, and we can also use the measure that we created. Then we'll format it as percentage. So once we've done that, we can create another card and drag it. So we have 0.18 percentage of urgent. So it's below 1%. Next will be complaints in progress. So we can do a new measure for this, which is, so what table is the in progress? It's the status in progress. So we can name it in progress. Calculate total complaints per description, and the status is, oops, in progress. So let's have this replicated so that we will have the same size of each card visuals. So we have 13. So let's check. So I always check those data after creating those measures. So what we can do here is first, so what do we have here? The urgency. So it's 0.18. So the urgency is in the priorities, and So we'll create a table. And how many complaints? So as you can see, it automatically use the distinct count. So the urgent is only 3. So let's use a calculator. 3 divided by 1654. So it's 0.18. So we have correct measure for the urgency. We will also need the number of in progress. If I can drag this table out. Okay. So it's based on the status. So how many error are in progress? So it's 13. So I have correct. So I have 13. Let me try to save this one first. As you know, once it became complicated, I experienced some data that has been crashed on the way that I've already been around 90% completed on my projects. So just to be safe, let's save it first. What's the next one? So as I'm saying, you can do it by creating a measure, or you can just drag and drop and filter it out on the visual. It will produce the same. So remove this one. Instead of dragging the complaints ID every time, we already have this one. Total complaints based on the distinct count of the complaints ID. Then drag the description on the filter on this visual only and just click in progress. So it will produce the same. So I'll just show you how to create either by measure or by this one. So it will save you time if you just drag and drop and filter it out on each visual. But for learning or familiarizing with the formulas, if you are a beginner, you would want to create these measures. So, and also, as you know, it is in the uppercase. Let's try to use lowercase. So let's see if it will not read. It still read the data. So it doesn't matter if what you put was an upper or lowercase. So it's not case sensitive. I think before it was, but for the recent updates that they had on Power BI, I think they've added that one. So next one is, let's see, NA satisfaction. So these are the number of instances that a client doesn't respond to the satisfaction ratings for the broker. So let's see. So for us to save time, we will use the second option that I showed you. So the satisfaction is in the complaints, client satisfaction, and just select NA. So on the latest 2 years, 809 doesn't respond to the satisfaction rating. So if you are a customer service, this is very important, and they should have at least give you some ratings. So let's try to have it minimize. So what's the 162.137? We still have a lot to cover. So what else? Total number of brokers. So it's just a plain numbers based on your brokers table. So just drag the ID and remove this one. So we have total brokers. Then what's next is the state with the highest number of complaints. So in here, it's California. Let's see it first. So let's have the state. Um, State. Then total complaints. So it was California. So how do we do that and put it in a card visual? But since if we use card visual and put the state in here, the default is it will show you the first state or the last state alphabetically and none other. It doesn't show us also the option for the top numbers by the field that we will be putting. So how do we do that? Um, what we can do is, let's see. So what we can do is use a measure called top N. So how do we use that one? So we need to create a new table from the modeling. It's different from the measure table because the one that we use for this table is the input data. And now we will need a calculated table to produce this top N. So top one by state. So we'll use top N. So how many values do we need to number of rows that we need to show? So for this instance, we use only one value. For which table? So we'll use the state table. state region, and what will be the order by expression, what will be the basis of this ranking. It's the total complaints, and what order it's descending. Now we will check what the table produces. Let's see. Now we have the top state from this table. So all the information from all the field information from this table will be um, dragged into this new calculated table based on this categories. So as we have done a while ago, if we rank all the states, don't summarize, and total complaints, what it do is filter out only the first state with the highest uh, complaints, as we only have the top one value only. So what's in the state regions table is the state code, state, and region. It will just show you the information for that state. So now we can put those measure on a card. So it only have the state information. So what's the height of this one? 137. Maybe we'll put it. Could we have blank? No. Sorry. So we'll remove the category. So for us to put the number of complaints for that state, we will use another card visual, which will be the total complaints based on this state. Oh, it is not part of the model, sorry. It should be this state region. And we'll also remove the category. And the background for it to be mixed on the visual. So for us to see the uh, division of this, I think we need to have the background first. So we'll set up the background for the meantime. Try to dim it temporarily. We'll update this one later. state, and we'll add the text box. State with the highest complaints. Is it complaints or complaints? I thought it was complaints. Is it? Can try to check. Complain or complaints. So let's see. Is discontent, pain, prayer, complaints when it's expressing discomfort, pain, or unease when used as a verb? Hmm. Anyways, so let's go back here. So for this one, we'll remove the background and have it in here. So let's have it centered. Next one. What else? Number of products. Straightforward. It's just a number of products. Next will be unsatisfied complaints. Again, we can reuse this one and just select the unsatisfied one. Not satisfied. Oh, I forgot to rename this one. It was NA satisfaction. And this one is unsatisfied customers, unsatisfied complaints. We'll have it a little. Yeah, I think that's good. Then total number of complaints. Mm. Again, straightforward data. Total complaints. Next. Complaints with the description you have been requested. It's very specific. You have always been requested. So which part of the table does it has? So I think it's on this one. Categories. Ah, this one. You have always been requested. What table is that? It's the categories. requested. So I think you use the title for it. What size are we using? 137. Percentage of complaints sent by email. So it's the source. Sources. Types? Okay, it's the types. Email. Total complaints sent by email. So it was on the types. Next, a percentage. Oh, my bad. It was a percentage. So we will create a measure. Email percentage. So same with what we did on the urgent percentage. We create a variable, which is email, then calculate the total complaints where type description is equals to email. Then use return. So for you to go to the next line, you need to press the shift key and enter. Because if you just press the enter, it will run the formula and it will bring you out on the uh, formula pane. So divide email and the total complaints. Then format it by percentage. Then drag it here. It will show 100% because we have the description filtered out by email. So we'll remove this one. So 80% was sent by email. So in this generation and age of technology, um, you know, normally we use emails and our devices, electronic devices, and the internet when doing the transactions. So including this, the complaints. So it's hard to go directly to the store or to the bank just to complain. It's also safer to do emails than going personally to the bank or to anyone just to complain. So percentage of unsatisfied. Again, we'll use this one. So instead of copying this one, we'll just do it again. So this is a practice also. Not satisfied NSA was the abbreviation in this project. So for NSA is equals to calculate again total complaints where satisfaction is equals to NSA return divide divide NSA to total complaints. Then drag it here and NSA percentage. We'll add percentage here just to be clear with our measure. Again, it's 100% because of this filter. Oh, that was a good percentage. Even though we have around 809 who doesn't respond to the satisfaction rating. But this is a good one. What's the last one? Average age. So aging is only used if the complaint is still not resolved. So if it's outstanding, if it's not resolved or closed. So if it doesn't involve these two, we will use the aging. So how do we do that? So again, let's save it. Then we'll go to the complaints data. So what's the status ID for 5 and 9? So if it's not 5 or 9, we will compute for the aging. Other than that, we'll have it as blank. You column. So we'll have the aging. So if status, complaint status is equals to 9, or, so we'll use or. So we only have two arguments. In here, we only are allowed two arguments for the or formula or function. Same with the end. You're only allowed two logical comparison or condition. I mean, so if it's 9 or status is 5, then we'll use blank. No, blank. Else we will compute the date difference between the complaint date, and the date to day, because it's the aging by the number of days. So as you can see, we have those who have status of 9, which are closed, are blanks. These are blanks. You can check it out by filtering the number 9 and check if all the agings are blank. So it's all blank, as you can see here. Then we'll check the others. They should have the numbers. So we'll filter out the number 9. So we have those aging. Okay. So another tip for these conditions. So as I was saying a while ago, or and functions in Power BI only has two arguments or two conditions that can be met, that can be used on it. So we also have this other option to use multiple or and conditions, which will be more than more than two, or three or more. Aging option. So what we did was, if the condition status is either 5, or this is the or, you'll do two vertical lines, vertical characters string, which on my keyboard is found above the enter. And for the end, we'll use the ampersand twice. That's the end function. End condition, and status is equals to 9. Then you don't need to close it out. I think you need to close it out for just to be sure. with a parenthesis. It will be blank. Then date difference complaint. Let's choose a different one. So if it's 5 or 9, it's maybe close. Then open. And so this is not an aging now. This is the current status. So as you can see, it worked. So, but we still use 2. So let's try to add another for the number 4 or the complaint. What's the status? Status is equals to 4. So we'll add a condition that if it's 4, 5, or 9, it will be closed. The rest is open. So let's check it out. So the previous condition that we had using the OR function built in Power BI is on the aging. So as we can see, all are blanks between 5 or 9. But for the current status, we include the 4, 5, and 9. So let's see if this 4 and 9 will be included as a closed status. So it should not show any open. As you can see here, let's check out number 4 only. Now it will, now we have used 3 conditions for the OR function instead of the built-in function, which is only built for 2 conditions. But for this project, we'll remove this one. Now it's okay. Clear. Then we'll use the average aging. Again, straightforward. Aging, then the average. The values are too large. Let's have it 35. Oh, what else? So these are just a line chart. So what confuses me at first was this one. This enclosure. So this is part of a training that I had that uses the rule of enclosure. So for you to focus on this data sets or portion of the visual, just to highlight that this portion of the line chart has a bulk number of complaints during that time. So at first I thought it was a filter custom filter uh, visual where you can drag date range based on this square just to highlight the date range when you hover on this line chart. But no, it's just an enclosure visual. Let me show you how to do that. Let's add a line chart. It's just a basic line chart where we use the complaint date as the axis. Then the number of complaints, total complaints. So let's use this measure. Let's try to this one, minimize, and just use this one. So what he did was turn off this axis, including the title. Then the background. So what it did was it took me long just to realize what has happened. So he just inserted this shape. And for this instance, we'll remove the outline and just add a transparency for the shape. So as you can see, we have enclosed this portion of the line chart where bulk of the complaints happen. So this is just what he did for this part of the visual. And we will add the period where it started. So let's check. It's September 2019 to, what are we enclosing? Maybe on to this. September to November 2019 or October. So it happened around September to end of October. So it's this simple. I've had a hard time analyzing or checking what he did there. Then the last element will be the last complaint date. So we'll add a card visual here and we'll use another measure so that it will be dynamic. But even if we add the data, it will show the latest date. So my computer is taking a while to process this one, even though it's just Excel as my sources. So latest date is equals to max of the complaint date. Complaint date. So as you can see, if we can see those, so it's 514. The format is the format is a long date. So what we can do here is, maybe we'll add some text. Let's see. Latest date and format general date. So this is, let's see what we got. Hmm. Oh, I know. I should have put only a single ampersand. The double ampersand is used for the conditions. Okay, as you can see, now we have a dynamic label based on a card visual. So this is another tip for you to use. So whatever will be the latest date, it will show in here. So let's just have it 25. So now you will have this dynamic label without you changing anything. So we'll have some allowance for larger numbers. So this is the base of our dashboard. So the next step will be designing this. So let me know if you have something that you learned on this um, base data. And if you have something in mind that you know that will be a better approach of using this one. So now let's go to the design phase. So with regards to the design, we'll check on what we have here. So we have this color palettes available here. So we already have the background. We'll just need to zero out the transparency. Then for this lines, so he used this color. Main color of the dashboard is yellow, which is also the color, I think, of RBA. So we'll get this RGB and use this as the colors of each elements. Then we'll just lay it out a little bit more. Remove the titles. It's already available there. Title. Labels. If we already have the labels here, we can remove the x-axis. So it's quite redundant and it limits the um, data noise. Complaints by distribution channel. Then we will remove the background and have all the colors of the y-axis as white, data labels, white also, and the title. What else? It's a little bit light yellow. So anyway, you can also do that. We'll also do that in this line chart. So we'll have it around here, maybe a little bit smaller for the axis on. Then where is the labels? It's the gray color. What else are we missing? Oh, it's alternate, no background. So we have a lighter white shade. Okay, it's a different graph. So we'll just remove the background here and have the, what's this? The indicator as around this color. Same with the title. And we can also do the trend axis color coding. Let's have the goals. Nope. Can we check that one? Then here we can remove the background. So we can multiple format each element as long as they have the same visual. So both of these are card visuals. So we can do that. And the category will be this one. What's for this? So we'll just have the background colored yellow. Next is this tree. Mhm. What else? This tree will be yellow. So he added some shadows for it. We can do that also. Shadows for the inside and its center. That's why it's quite different from what we have. Have the lighter one. You can check. It's quite not visible in here. Inside center. Maybe a lighter shade. Not that quite visible. Anyway, so what's important is the data. Next element will be this one, an insight into complaints procedure. So it's just a basic shape. So we'll just add some shape here. And have it colored gray. Oh, we have that palette. This one. Color hex. Oops. An insight into. Complaints procedure. Then what else? So some color here below. Then I think this will be the page navigation. Now, what else? This one? Background and this white. I think basically this is much uh, what we have for this replication. But let's see what are the goals for this challenge. So the first goal is to use the recent 2 years. So check, we have done that. We have those elements here. the ability to see the status changes and when they happen. So I think it's not present. No information for this one. So I think it was missed out on this dashboard. Complaints broken down into dimensions. So we have here a basic distribution channel. And let's see what is on the second page. It's by category and another distribution channel. So it's still quite redundant. We already have that in here. Why put it also in here? We still have a lot of categories that has not been dig into. Like what else do we have here? So we still have this, the descriptions. Uh, what's this? It's a broker's customer information. Priorities. Product. So which product does the complaints have most? So that um, the managers or the management will see into it why most of these products have these complaints. So they can cross navigate or cross highlight what is wrong with this product. It's better to see those breakdown so that they will have to adjust what is wrong with their product and maybe make it a little bit better. So I think it's missing those analysis. So the regions, I think it's present on this, but how do we check what is the main problem for this region? So instead of map, I think it's better if we show a bar instead, so that we can cross highlight also and see what is the majority problem or complaints for this area based on the products and the other categories that we've had. So for this one, sources of complaints. So which part of our centers have received most of the complaints? Then what else? Status. So this is what is missing. The number 2, ability to see the status changes and when they happened. So this should be used. So this is where we should get the status changes. So for example, this one, complaints, oh, it's just one status. Let's see the others. So for this instance, so it started as status 1. What is status 1? Where is it? So first it's outstanding, then it was closed on the same date. Not a very good example again. Let's see the others. Yeah, this one I think, but still the same date. So what I was thinking is to measure the number of days in between the status changes. So it started with number 3 in progress, then it was assigned to, then it was closed. But it was closed on the same day. It's better at least that we are closing the complaints within the day. So I think one dimension is how many number of how much is the aging of each status complaints. So maybe some binning or histogram for how do we handle the complaints, how many number of days are we allotting for resolving it. And if we have around more than our stated KPI, for example, we need to do this within 2 days. And maybe majority of our closing or resolving days is around 7 days. So we need to improve our resolving um, resolving solution, or how do we improve the trainings for our staffs for it to reduce into 2 days. And what else? So what type of complaints? So this could be uh, a high alert. So not sure why we focus on the email on this report. It should be this court and court order, because this one is a red flag. And my thoughts with this dashboard is I don't think this is a good presentation of with regards to data visualization. As you can see, most of these are still in numbers. It's more of a, what you call this, a infographics or a page, uh, maybe a magazine page for your highlights, but it doesn't show you the highlights. For example, this one. Why would we show this or this one instead of showing the breakdown of it in a donut chart or a pie chart, or maybe just measure the KPI for the net satisfaction score, maybe a gauge chart where we have a target which is, for example, 2%. So all the unsatisfied percentage should only be within the 2% mark. Then I don't think we need this information. Instead, I think we need those breakdowns of each element instead, or the KPIs here, so that the management will have a quick visibility of what is the status or how are we performing with regards to handling the complaints. So this is also an example of prioritizing the visual design over the data analysis. So I think that's it for this replication. We'll try to do another one with regards to the other that might solve some of these issues. So it's not complaints broken down dimension, partial client satisfaction. So they focus on the not satisfied customer. It's quite the same, but if the management is focusing on the satisfaction percentage as they have it in here, which is the positive side and not the negative side. So I think we need to have the KPI for that instead. So the satisfaction rating. So if our goal is 98%, we need those to be met and have the dynamic colors maybe of the filling chart dynamically, maybe green, yellow, and red if it's a quite alarming. No information or partial. So since we have the not satisfied percentage and worst offending brokers. Do we have those? So they have here the worst 10 offending brokers. Yeah, it is showed here. Present. But it's still not complete information. So let's see what we will have on the next video. Maybe we'll try to focus on answering these goals instead of focusing on the design. The reason why I do this is because it's visually appealing. As you can see, it is eye-catching. When you scroll down, what will struck you is this dashboard. But we we don't need those visually appealing dashboard if we don't solve these problems or goals for the management. So I'll let you know on the next video what I've chosen from this other dashboard present in this challenge. So thank you again for um, having learning on this video, and hopefully you have learned something from this, and please like and subscribe if you think you are learning and you need to learn more, or if you want to have more Power BI tips and tricks. So thank you again and good day. Bye-bye.